stabbing the guy with forks and biting him in the ears, and he was a mad dog.
From Mad Dog Vachon biting ears in the ring, to Luna Vachon pulling a gun on a fellow wrestler, to Haku ending backstage fights with one hand, these forgotten WWE legends terrified everyone around them. Yet the most feared legend of all is the one almost nobody remembers today, Harley Race. Harley Race was an absolutely legendary 8-time NWA World Champion who successfully bridged the territorial system to the WWF as the intimidating King Harley Race from 1986 to 1989. A compact yet incredibly powerful 6 feet 1 inch, 240-pound brawler, his devastating left hook was whispered about in locker rooms like an ancient curse. Old-timers who shared the ring with him routinely called him the toughest man alive, and Race's reputation was backed by far more than just talk. He carried a concealed pistol for protection, survived multiple near-fatal accidents, including a horrific boating mishap that left him with an abnormally high pain threshold bordering on superhuman, and maintained an aura of danger that permeated every locker room he entered. This wasn't a man who played at being tough. This was a man whose entire existence radiated genuine menace. Backstage at WWF events throughout the late 1980s, wrestlers instinctively avoided his piercing gaze, knowing full well that one wrong word or gesture could trigger an explosive reaction no one wanted to experience firsthand. Even Andre the Giant, the supposedly unbeatable Colossus, feared him after witnessing Race challenge men in bars without even breaking a sweat. His movements were economical and brutally efficient. Stories of Race's bar fights became legendary throughout the wrestling world, including one particularly memorable incident in which Race slugged a rowdy fan so hard during a match that the stunned promoter immediately halted the entire show, leaving an awkward silence hanging over the arena like a dark cloud. Race later spoke openly about how feared he was in a candid interview, confirming that the legends surrounding him were very real.
So I walked up into the dressing room area, and it was like this death silence fell over. And Terry was standing there talking to the two Funks sitting in the background, and they're looking at me like, oh my God, what's he here for?
Forgotten today amid flashier 1980s stars like the flamboyant Randy Savage and the cartoonish characters of that colorful era, Race's absolute no-nonsense enforcer vibe made him the backstage sheriff no one dared to challenge under any circumstances. His presence alone commanded instant respect, and his willingness to back that respect with devastating violence made him a true legend, one whose reputation transcended championships and main events. If you thought Harley Race was terrifying with his calculated brutality, then you haven't heard about the feral, unpredictable intensity of the next forgotten legend. Mad Dog Vachon. At just 5 feet 7 inches and 220 pounds, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon initially looked unassuming, even diminutive, standing next to the giants of professional wrestling. That illusion vanished the moment he unleashed razor-sharp fingernails and blood-curdling snarls that made grown men recoil in genuine fear and confusion. His distinctive and horrifying style, featuring biting and clawing that drew real blood, predated the entire hardcore wrestling movement by decades, making him a true pioneer of violence long before modern fans embraced it. A 5-time AWA champion who made sporadic but memorable appearances in the WWF during the 1980s. Vachon terrorized opponents with unpredictable attacks that fused technical wrestling skill with savage brutality drawn from something deep and primal within his psyche. Despite his smaller stature compared to the behemoths dominating North American rings, Vachon had been pinning larger men since his teenage years in Quebec. He was infamous for dominating bar fights across the province, literally gnawing on challengers like a rabid, cornered animal defending its territory. Pat Patterson, a respected WWF veteran who had seen it all, called Vachon tougher than anyone I've ever seen. recounting with visible discomfort how Mad Dog once commissioned and built a custom casket designed to bury his rival, Jerry Blackwell, alive during a theatrical yet genuinely disturbing match. It was pure psychological warfare, echoing ominously through locker rooms and leaving younger wrestlers questioning exactly what they had gotten themselves into. Even legends, like Ric Flair, consciously steered clear of Mad Dog whenever possible, instinctively knowing that his wild eyes signaled very real, unpredictable danger, something that went far beyond scripted storylines or carefully choreographed angles. Don Morocco summed it up best when he described just how terrifying Mad Dog Vachon truly was when he said,
He decided to pick on the dog, which was probably the biggest mistake he'd made. The other guys would probably just knock him out. The last thing, and these are just stories I've heard, the last thing they're pulling the dog out, he's got forks and everything. He's stabbing the guy with forks, and biting him in the ears, and he was a mad dog.
One verified and deeply disturbing story tells how Mad Dog Vachon once bit off a man's ear during a bar fight in Quebec, brutally mirroring his savage in-ring style in real life. Overshadowed by flashier stars, and even his own brother, Vachon's feral, animalistic violence turned him into a locker room legend, still whispered about decades later with fear and respect. But as terrifying as Mad Dog was, the next legend brought Olympic-level skill and street-fighting fearlessness that made him truly untouchable. Bad News Brown, Alan Coach. Known as Bad News Brown, during his WWF run from 1988 to 1990, was a 6 feet 2 inches, 260-pound Olympic judo bronze medalist with a real killer instinct. His technical throws could end careers, but it was his absolute fearlessness that terrified everyone. Brown refused to back down from anyone, regardless of size or status. In one legendary backstage moment, Brown stared down Andre the Giant over a racist remark. Andre backed off and apologized. Backstage, Brown was known as completely unfuckwithable. JBL recalled how Brown once slapped Big Van Vader without hesitation, while his judo throws in real fights left lasting bruises and unforgettable warnings.
From a few people, and then I heard that they talked about it years later. I think when they were both in WWF, Andre and Bad News kind of buried the hatchet, and he apologized. And but I wouldn't know. I never asked Bad News about that. No.
Forgotten today, despite stealing Royal Rumble moments with his unpredictable performances and anti-hero charisma, Bad News Brown commanded fear few could match. His rare blend of Olympic-level judo precision and zero tolerance for disrespect was so intimidating that even Randy Savage warned younger wrestlers never to cross him. While Bad News ruled through fearless confrontation, the next forgotten legend became the locker room's most feared enforcer through loyalty and devastating precision, Rick Rude. Standing 6 feet 3 inches and 252 pounds, ravishing. Rick Rude was a sculpted superstar from 1987 to 1990, drawing nuclear heat with his arrogant persona. But backstage, his bouncer background and street fighting experience made him lethal. Rude was infamous for dropping troublemakers with perfectly placed open hand palm strikes before they even knew what hit them. A former arm wrestling champion with immense upper body strength, he protected undercard talent like a mafia enforcer and maintained order when chaos threatened. After the 1997 Montreal Screwjob, Rude stood guard outside Bret Hart's locker room for hours, daring anyone to escalate an already explosive situation. Even Jake, the Snake, Roberts admitted Rude's mean streak was no act, it was real. One legendary story recounts Rude flattening a WCW invader with a single palm strike, earning silent approval from Harley Race himself. Overshadowed by his sex symbol image and tragic death at 40, Rude's quiet menace made him the last man anyone wanted to anger. His loyalty was legendary, but so was his willingness to use swift, brutal violence when necessary. And if Rick Rude scared you, wait until you hear about the next forgotten legend, Danny Hodge. At just 5 feet 11 inches, Hodge was an NCAA champion, Golden Gloves boxer, and NWA icon whose grip strength bordered on unreal. He could crush pliers and bend steel with his bare hands, leaving rookies stunned and terrified. Terry Funk called him unbeatable in his prime, recalling how Hodge survived a horrific car crash, swam across a flooded river with a broken neck, and still dominated giants in the ring without effort. Greg Valentine later summed it up best when speaking about Danny Hodge's insane grip, saying,
Hodge had such a grip. I wanted to feel the grip. And Danny was a nice guy, and I said, Danny, will you grab my, because I got big forearms. I wanted him to grab my forearm with a grip. And he put the grip on me, and I went right down on my knees. It was like nothing I've ever felt before in my life.
Veterans like Bob Backlund avoided shoot matches with Danny Hodge, knowing his holds could permanently injure. Arn Anderson once said he'd rather face a grizzly bear than grapple with him. Largely forgotten today, Hodge's superhuman grip turned him into a locker room boogeyman whose legend only grew. And while Hodge could crush you with his hands, Lou Thesz could break you with precision. A 6-time world champion trained by Ed Strangler Lewis, Thesz mastered hooks designed to snap bones and destroy joints. He broke arms with cold efficiency and humbled cocky young wrestlers without mercy. Even in his 70s, Thesz sparred with trainees who left limping. Bruno Sammartino called his grip pure terror, like being crushed in a medieval torture device.
Something, because he was teaching me these moves at the same time. He wanted to see how it really works. And he faked them out and finally got exactly what he wanted, got a double wrist lock on him, and took him over with it a couple of times. And the rotator, I heard that when the tendons snap, you can hear them a long ways away. And he was crippled.
Forgotten during WWE's Hulkamania era, when spectacle overshadowed technique, Lou Thesz's clinical mastery shaped legends from Bret Hart to Kurt Angle. None, however, matched the quiet dread Thesz could inspire. With a single look. If Thesz could break you with precision, the next legend crushed opponents with raw, unbelievable power. Bob Backlund, the clean-cut, ever-smiling 6 feet 1 inch, 233-pound Backlund was a 2-time NCAA All-American whose near-mythical strength included a 500-pound bench press. He once one-arm lifted Hulk Hogan like a rag doll, an almost unthinkable feat during his WWF Championship reigns, 1978 to 1985, 1992 to 1993. Backlund's cross-faced chicken wing produced screams of real agony, echoing backstage and reminding everyone just how dangerous that hold truly was. Demolition's Axe later summed up Backlund's strength when he said,
"We got in the ring with. I mean, he lifted me up with one arm.
No, so you
shoulder height
Oh.
from an arm bar on his leg, a scissors hold, and I was amazed. But Bob was a good guy. I think he was misunderstood.
In his 40s comeback, when most thought he was finished, Bob Backlund dismantled younger wrestlers who underestimated him. Even Iron Sheik was forced to tap in dark matches, his fear obvious. Sergeant Slaughter later called Backlund pound for pound the strongest man in wrestling, with locker room stories of him ragdolling 300-pound giants during workouts. Beneath his wholesome, smiling exterior was a terrifying vice-like strength that made heels genuinely fear working with him. If Backlund scared people with raw power, the next legend enforced order with calm, lethal precision. Steve Blackman, standing 6 feet 2 inches and 250 pounds. Blackman was a multidisciplined martial artist who competed in WWF from 1992 to 2002. He was Vince McMahon's go-to enforcer, sent to handle WCW raids and real fights with brutal headbutts and elbows. His quiet, emotionless style made him even scarier. When JBL provoked him backstage, one knee to the gut ended the confrontation and earned a swift apology. Even Ken Shamrock treated Blackman with respect. Forgotten today as a silent gimmick, he was the locker room's unspoken weapon. And if that wasn't intimidating enough, The next legend broke every rule by being a woman who could dominate men twice her size. Luna Vachon. Luna's mohawk, gravelly voice, and wild persona hid real toughness. She stiffed male wrestlers without hesitation, once suplexing a trainee through a table and terrifying even Bam Bam Bigelow. Backstage, whispers were simple and clear. Don't mess with Luna.
I didn't tell him a lot of things. I didn't tell him about her pulling a gun and shooting it on me or threatening it. I did all that because I guess I didn't think of it because
even top female stars feared her. Luna Vachon. Sable avoided her backstage after a promo went wrong, knowing Luna's rage wasn't scripted. A trailblazer often forgotten amid glamorous divas, Luna broke gender barriers with her unfiltered toughness and volatile personality, leaving jaws and egos broken. If Luna was unpredictable, the final forgotten legend brought real-life menace to another level. Nails. Kevin Wack Holtz, 7 feet 0 inches and 300 pounds, was an ex-con in an orange jumpsuit whose guttural roars and claw holds radiated prison-hardened terror during his brief Big Boss Man feud in 1992. Backstage, wrestlers feared him. Sid Vicious avoided him, and he even confronted Vince McMahon over booking disputes. His size, unpredictability, and genuine menace made Nails a cautionary tale of untamed fury, forgotten by history, but unforgettable Tatos who shared the locker room with him. These legends remind us that WWE's golden eras thrived on real grit, not just scripted drama. While modern discussions highlight names like Haku or Vader, it was these overlooked figures whose shadows loomed largest. Their legacies live on in whispered stories, shoot interviews, and the oral histories that preserve wrestling's most terrifying truths.